10-4, good buddy. Roger, roger. Breaker, breaker. Why is everything always said twice? Hey guys, Gary here. Thanks for checking in. Some time ago, I did a video talking about getting the Quanshang. I don't remember the model number. Of course, it's not actually written on here. There's a video around here somewhere. And I put a link to them on Amazon, and I used my Amazon affiliate link. And you guys made me a couple $100, so I must have sold a fuckload of radios. And while they're noticeably better than the Baofeng UV5R, they seem to have a little more clarity, like talking to each other, and they're a little more resistant to the weather. However, they're not the be-all end-all of radios, so we delved into trying to find one that better suited our team communication needs, and let me tell you what we found. Here's the radio. Yaesu VX6R is the radio that we ended up with. We tried a couple different model Baofengs, a couple model of Yaesus. We went through a number of radios trying to find a radio that was quality, we could program, and it would handle the weather. The VX6R is submersible, says submersible on it. That was a big indicator. It might fit our needs, and it has an IP rating of something that makes it submersible. I'll just list it right there because I don't remember off the top of my head. However, it fit our needs pretty well. And when we were doing radio testing just on communicating to each other, we found that no matter which radio was receiving, whether it was any of the model Baofengs, any of the model Yaesus, or any of the model Quanshangs that we had, if you were broadcasting on a Japanese radio, i.e. the Yaesus, you could more clearly hear them on any receiving radio further away, almost twice as far. You could make out the words that were being said. On the same token, the receiving radio didn't seem to be as important to how far we could clearly hear. We went through a number of those tests trying to figure out, and we did it on UHF and VHF. So we were using the ham bands, we were using FRS and MURS, trying to figure out if the frequency also would play a role depending on if you were outdoors, indoors, that kind of thing. But we definitely found that the Japanese radios broadcast further, clearer than the Chinese radios did. So we were pretty stoked about that. And this thing's been out in the rain and dunked underwater, completely waterproof, even waterproof with a push-to-talk in it. Ingenious little design they got there, and we'll talk about that in a second too. But that is the radio that we settled on. This is not the factory antenna. We're in the midst of doing some antenna testing. I will say the antenna seems to have less importance over the distance than the brand of the radio. The Japanese radios just seem to be clearer further. So I've talked about these a bit on the social medias and in my live streams. And I had a lot of students, followers ask, look, just what are all the parts that you're using? And we're still trying out some different parts for walking around with a radio, like in your hand or in your pocket, and that kind of setup. And there'll be a second part to this video. I'm waiting on a few more things to try out that come highly recommended. But what we have finally settled completely on is how to set it up in your rig, whether that be a plate carrier or a chest rig or a chest rig over a plate carrier, something where you'd have a rifle, an ear pro, and a helmet, and whatever else. Helmet not necessarily necessary, but how to set it up in your fighting attire. And we'll go ahead and talk about all the individual parts. There'll be links down below about where to get them, and so on and so forth. So already talked about the radio, the Yaesu VX6R. That is absolutely the radio that we recommend. We bought an adapter, some adapters to go from the SMA connector that's on here to a BNC connector. So it looks like this. I'll do a little close up there as well. And it allows the antennas to go on like a half turn, quarter turn, and it's locked in place. Allows you to disconnect it from the antenna. That'll become important here when I show you how we got it set up in our gear. So that was the only change that we made to the radio. When it came to the antennas, like I said, we're in the midst of some antenna testing, but we found a pretty clear winner. It just doesn't work out for walking around with the radio in your hand. So while we tried some of the blade antennas and the different types of whips, factory rubber ducks and all that, what we ended up deciding on were these awesome vest-mounted antennas from Disco 32. It's a cat out of North Carolina, and I believe he's like an 18 Charlie or something by day, and by night makes us some cool radio stuff. And I used him for a couple things. So this is a flexible antenna here, like you can, I don't know, tie knots in it because there's still copper in there, and it comes with a couple different colored sleeves going outside that are they're plastic, make it abrasion resistant. So the idea that this is wherever you put the radio on your gear, it comes with a BNC connector already on it, which is the quarter turn. So the idea is that you will weave this through all the molly of your plate carrier, or I had it running up my chest rig and through the molly in the back, so that you're wearing the antenna, you know, strapped however around your body on your gear. You never take it off. And then when you put the radio in your pouch, you can simply connect the antenna, twist it on, and now it goes from there to wherever you had it run. And then when you want to take it out of the pouch, say to charge it or to walk around with it in your hand, it is unplug it. Now the radio comes out. You should never use a radio, like broadcast it, hit the mic with no antenna on it, you damage the radio. But now that I've taken it out and I want to just carry it in my hand, I can grab another antenna with a BNC adapter on that antenna, and now it goes back to handheld. So if you had multiple rigs, you could, in theory, buy one of these for every one of your rigs and weave it in whatever way you want and have an antenna that works really well and is super low profile. There's nothing sticking up over your shoulder. It allows you to put the radio anywhere you want. If you said, hey, I want to mount this thing right here, well, it'd be poking you in the face all the time because with the rubber duck on it. This would allow the antenna to be mounted completely out of the way. Awesome functioning antenna. It had the best clarity when we were switching antennas. We can't walk around with a handheld antenna and this giant thing hanging off of it. So we're still working on a handheld, but this antenna outperformed on the radios that we have better than anything else. Now, what we did next was instead of just using it broadcasting in the open, we didn't like the idea that the speaker would be broadcasting in the open, spurious transmissions and whatnot. So we decided to run a microphone and an earpiece. And we tried a bunch of different types. We tried earbuds, lapel mics, a whole host of them. Like between the 4 or 5 of us that were buying radio shit, we've got a fucking tote full of shit that just didn't work out. So we ended up going with this push-to-talk, also from Disco 32. I do not know those guys. I don't get any kickback from them or anything like that. So it is a standard Nexus military style push-to-talk. It comes with one of these steel, really fucking strong and grippy teeth fucking clips on the back. I unbolted that because I wanted to set it up on my rig different. It was actually set up, I tore it all apart just to make this video. So it is your standard push-to-talk over here, and your mic and earpiece pieces plug into the top. It is a standard Peltor style plug. Now the bottom normally had like the 6-pin military plug on it. Disco 32 offer a number of different, I guess there's a pigtail on the end. And this is the Yaesu one. They also do the Baofeng, Quanchang, aka Potato Fang, the Kenwood style 2 plug, which that plug style cannot be made to be waterproof. So if you're going to run a push to talk with a Kenwood style, doesn't matter if it's a Kenwood radio, the water resistance stopped once you took the rubber cover open and put the Kenwood plug in it. Major weakness in that design. They do it for Motorola, and there might be some other ones too. So the Yaesu one is ingenious. What this fella does down there at Disco, takes this thing apart, puts the new piece on it, puts it all back together, and now this works with the Yaesu radio. So this, I use shock cord, runs down behind some pouches, goes into the radio. And what's pretty cool about this and the whole Yaesu system in general is it is threaded. So this screws into the radio. There's a waterproof port on the radio. You unscrew the cap, you screw this in place, and there's an O-ring on it, so it seals it. So even with the push-to-talk, unlike the Kenwood style, it is waterproof. So this ends up on your gear, wherever you want it. I also got one of these little guys when I ordered it. It's the little black plastic clip-on piece that makes the button like low profile. I mean, the button didn't change, but it makes it so it's harder to press it. Like you got to press in, so there's less likelihood like your gun sitting on your chest is gonna hot mic your radio. But so then it's attached. This is all low profile, weaved in, and then we got to figure out what's going to go into it from there. Initially, we wanted to come up with some type of lapel mic with the earbud because it would work with any ear protection you could come up with, and we just couldn't find anything that was waterproof and worked well. There was a bunch of cheap Chinese shit. It wasn't durable, and it sounded like crap. So what we ended up going with was the good old Peltor Contacts. Now, it doesn't have to be contacts. This is an old set of Peltor Contact 2s. Those you can find remarkably inexpensive on eBay. The 2s are not as weather resistant as the 3s and ups. The 6s seem like the cat's meow, but they're like $1,200. So not going to be grabbing any of those anytime soon. This particular model of contacts is a dual lead. So there's one plug and it plugs into my push to talk. It has another lead for the other ear. Currently I just have that stowed out of the way, and that is for if we want to run 2 radios. That need may creep up in the future. And the radio ops primer seminar that we do, I am not the teacher for it. We talk about how running dual radios could be advantageous for a group of dudes. So with these guys on, this on my kit, I have some cord management shit set up, and it plugs into that push to talk. So now I've got everything I need. I can hear anything coming from this push to talk in this ear. This push to talk would go in that ear. It's got a boom mic, transmits to either ear. So if I'm running 2 push to talks, 2 radios, all that. I know, check this out. This thing moves out of the way. So if you're a YouTuber that owns contacts and you wear Ear Pro at the range and then you talk to the camera, especially when this thing isn't fucking plugged into anything, you could, in theory, not have the microphone in front of your face. It's okay. It's like completely okay to move it out from in front of your face. You don't have to be all operator. Hey fellas out in YouTube land, fucking smash the like button or whatever. Anyhow, couple $100 on eBay, you can find contacts. Contact 2 single leads are the least expensive. Contact 6s with dual leads are the most expensive. You could also get Sordens, TCI Liberators, Ops Core Amp. Those are pretty sweet too. So there's a bunch of different options out there for comm-equipped Ear Pro. However, you need to be aware that, especially when it comes to Peltor, you can buy contacts that don't have any of the comm stuff on it. It's comms capable, but there is no boom mic, there's no attachment for the boom mic, and there's no down lead installed. So you got to buy 2 different kits. You got to buy the kit to put this lead on and the kit to put the microphone on separately. So be careful when you're buying to make sure you get everything that you want or that you need if you're gonna indeed hook it up to a radio. As usual, when it comes to any Ear Pro noise fighter gel cups, I buy them for everything. Every pair of Ear Pro in my house has those on it. Wife's, kids, spares, all that. I also got this Peltor Wrap from Raptor Tactical. It seems nice. It's got two things that I like on it. It's got the Velcro on the top for your name tape and that kind of shit. But it's got a bunch of like Molly built in, so it's easy to manage the cords, especially since I have one stowed out of the way. And it's got this little loop. What's great about that is on my test rig, I got a little carabiner and I can hang my ear pro on it, so I don't have to undo all the cable management. And when I take the ear pro off, I can just hang them while I'm at the range fucking around and whatnot, and not needing to wear the ear pro while we talk as a group. But so that particular headset seemed to work pretty well for me. I did, you know, one of these, I don't know what the hell are those things called again? Not a Grimlock, that's the other thing. With the shock cord, so that I can manage my cable when I'm not using it, because I don't need to let it hang free when I'm not plugged in and I'm just going to the range. Although I have some sport tacks that I wear when I'm just shooting. I don't have to wear the contacts. But I'll put a link for everything here that I purchased, so don't worry. On the chest rig, you can just use paracord, shock cord. These little guys, it's a little piece of webbing. It fits behind Molly and it's got two stretchy shock cord loops on it. A couple of those tucked in random places to manage the cords. And these were, I think they're Peltor Contacts makes them, but I think a couple of companies make these. But it's great for helping keep all the cords where they need to go. Now, if you have like the plate carrier with the wrapped shoulder pieces, you open them up, lay the cords in, close them over top of it, works out great. That only leaves us with one last part, and this is the part I'm least happy with this setup, and that is a pouch to hold it in. So here I have an Eagle Industries pouch for an M-bitter radio, and it doesn't really work for any of civilian handheld ham style radios. As you can see, the pouch is so big that the radio like is swallowed by it. Now, like, the cool design of it is it mounts to your gear and you can open it up and fuck around with the stuff on the radio. The downside is it's so far down the pouch you still can't get in there and fuck with it. But it's made for a giant radio with a big fucking battery. It does have like the thing over the top you can click to keep the radio from coming out, but the problem is the radio is too small to work that way. And you can secure it with Velcro so that it's tight. So it's a nifty design, just not sized right. So that left us with trying to find another solution. And the solution that we ended up with was this other Eagle pouch. It is smaller. It's the Radio Pocket ICOM. So it's meant for the ICOM, some type of ICOM radio. I don't know which one. But if you have a Yaesu, it does drop in there pretty all right. So pouch on your gear, pow, radio drops in. It does have the little duber over the top to keep the radio from coming out. It doesn't hold it tight because it's not that big of a radio. The ICOM is larger than the Yaesu is, but you won't lose it. The only downside is since it doesn't open up, you still have to pull the radio out if you want to mess with all the stuff. However, you can take the radio out. Even when it's in the pouch, you can take the antenna off and plug in the antenna that's weaved through your gear, goes in there with a quarter turn BNC connector. It's good. If you need to pull it out, you set your gear up so there's enough slack to get it out. Punch all the numbers you need, turn all the knobs, drop it back in there. So it's a solution that works for now, but it's not a perfect solution. If anybody out there in YouTube watcher land, viewer types, knows of a radio pouch that's better suited, similar to the M-biter style, but sized for one of these, shoot me a message over in the social medias, Instagram message, Facebook message, email, go to the website, there's a contact form there. Let me know what pouch you're looking at. I've talked to a couple companies about the idea of making an M-bitter style pouch for a smaller radio. We just haven't progressed real far. Most companies have had struggles finding material in order to catch up with their regular orders, let alone a new custom product that Garry wants. So don't have a pouch solution for the time being, but this one works okay. So there you have the entire list. It is the Yaesu VX6R, a Disco 32 push-to-talk, a Disco 32 antenna, Peltor Contacts plugged into that. Contacts are set up with gel cups and a Peltor Wrap that has cable management built in. FRS makes some other cable management products. It's not the cheapest setup out there, but it is pretty fucking weatherproof and doesn't cost, doesn't have like the exorbitant encrypted radio cost of $10 trillion. Things are in the hundreds of dollars. While it's not as cheap as a Baofeng, you can go out in the rain with it. I would show you all the Baofengs I have here. Of all the ones I bought, none of them have survived, so I don't have even the corpse of any to show you. They're long gone. But you can certainly buy a dozen Quanshangs for the same price as this setup. This setup will last longer than a dozen Quanshangs. So if you're looking for a step up in quality, the list I just gave you, and links below on where to get them, certainly capable of everything that you need. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you later. I told everybody about these Quanshang radios. I said pick one up before they stop coming in because of some new FCC regulations. And it turns out the Chinese don't care about the FCC regulations, and they keep shipping them in anyway. And if like a boatload of them get seized for importation violations, they don't give a shit because they're so cheap.